I think one of the most intriguing and underappreciated positions for the Kansas City Chiefs headed into the 2023 NFL season is their running back group. But that doesn't mean there's questions that need to be answered. Earlier in the month, we got reports that Isaiah Pacheco has been dealing with the injury, and we do not know the future of Clyde EdwardsHelaire headed into 2023. So that begs the question, should the Kansas City Chiefs be focused in on bringing a veteran running back into the season before training camp? But before we do get into all of that, please be sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Now, I thought it would be fun to switch the tempo up a little bit. I know a lot of Chiefs channels, everything that's going on in the media right now between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills is who's going to land DeAndre Hopkins, as both teams are favored to do that. And I told you guys in my last video, I'm going to keep it silent on that front. I feel like I spoke a lot about DeAndre Hopkins throughout this whole offseason. The anticipation, the hopes, the dreaming of to have him a Kansas City Chief. I believe we are moving forward. I believe we are sticking with our young core. And the only way I'm making another video about DeAndre Hopkins, unless there's just some bizarre, crazy news, or if he actually signs to become a Kansas City Chief. So when I say we're switching tempos, we're still going to focus on signing guys throughout this offseason because it is still the offseason. It's the dry point in the offseason. So this is when the imagination starts to linger and get crazy. So we're going to start picturing some guys that may look good in a Kansas City Chief uniform. And today, we're going to focus on the running back group, and we're going to focus on every running back on this team and a guy who can potentially be a free agent post a June 1st cut. But right now, I want to discuss a little bit about Isaiah Pacheco because he had a phenomenal, amazing rookie year that almost none of us anticipated besides him. Coming into last year, he said he was going to take a grown man's job, and that is exactly what he has done. And we all anticipate him to bounce back and be better than ever and show why he deserves to be a RB1 in this league. Not just a running back and not just a grown man, but to get majority of the carries. But we got reports earlier in the month saying that he is dealing with a torn labrum and another injury as well that has basically sidelined him throughout this offseason and could sideline him through OTAs and training camp as well. So that leaves a huge question mark if Isaiah Pacheco is sidelined. And then now the Kansas City Chiefs have Jerick McKinnon, Clyde EdwardsHelaire, and Deneric Prince, and of course they got other guys too, like P. Ryan, I'm drawing blanks, but they got guys that are practice squad guys and are fighting for bubbles. But could the Kansas City Chiefs zone in on a veteran running back? And that veteran running back is Dalvin Cook. Now I know, when you hear the name initially, you're like, no, like that, no way, no shape and form that could happen. Specifically, the Kansas City Chiefs wouldn't trade for Dalvin Cook. And right then and there, I agree with you completely. The Kansas City Chiefs won't trade for Dalvin Cook. But what the Minnesota Vikings are doing with their roster is kind of surprising, to say the least. Recently, they just released Darius Smith, and now it seems like if they can't trade Dalvin Cook, they may release him. And if Dalvin Cook is a free agent, I believe that would be a great option for the Kansas City Chiefs. Honestly, he wouldn't command big dollars, and he's still a running back where he may have lost a step. He may not be the same running back as he was 3 years ago, but he is still a 1,000-yard rusher in this league. And I think he would be that perfect complementary duo with Isaiah Pacheco, or if Isaiah Pacheco happens to be out for an extended period of time, which, knock on wood, if I knew where I could, this wall might help actually. If he's out an extended period of time, you have a guy who has been proven in this league to do it, because that's where the main concern starts to lie. If Isaiah Pacheco is hurt, who is that next man up? And I'm with Chiefs Kingdom. I'm actually very thrilled that we brought Jerick McKinnon back. But at the end of the day, you know what Jerick McKinnon is, and he is a great role player, and he knows his role perfectly. He knows he's a great receiving back. He knows he will be there in clutch scenarios, and he is basically Patrick Mahomes' security blanket. But he is not an every down running back. And if Isaiah Pacheco happens to be out for training camp or the first portion of the season, I don't know if I can depend on Jerick McKinnon there because he's not your guy who's going to have 15 to 18 carries a game. And also, the reason why Jerick McKinnon hasn't been the top running back that a lot of people anticipated throughout his career is because he's dealt with injuries before. And Andy Reid knows the perfect package for Jerick McKinnon to succeed in this league. And I believe you keep it at that. So then when you focus on the next man up or the next man that is on the Kansas City Chiefs roster, it is Clyde EdwardsHelaire, which reports out of camp have been phenomenal for Clyde EdwardsHelaire, which is what they need. But Chiefs Kingdom may not want to hear because they basically are already ousting Clyde EdwardsHelaire, but he has looked in great shape. He has looked fast, which is kind of surprising because that's not what a lot of us are used to seeing. And he just looks like a new form of Clyde EdwardsHelaire who is ready to attack this season. And honestly, I'm happy for it. I've been a huge CEH stan throughout his career. If you guys have been keeping up with the channel, you guys would know that. But I think we tend to forget what Clyde EdwardsHelaire is all about. Yes, he is not the fastest guy. He has a lot to improve on in his game. But also, before he got hurt last year, he was a huge red zone target. He had like 6 or 7 touchdowns before he got hurt. It's not like he gave Isaiah Pacheco that job. It was just unfortunate he got hurt again, and then Isaiah Pacheco took a grown man's job. And I believe Clyde EdwardsHelaire could be a great complementary back with Isaiah Pacheco if that's how it all works out. But again, I think I think Clyde EdwardsHelaire role is kind of similar to a Jerick McKinnon, to where I don't know if you can trust him with an every down back, giving him 15 to 20 carries or 15 to 20 snaps to where he's touching the ball. He needs that limited snap count to show, hey, this is where we're going to use his full strength and he's going to show you how good he is. Is Clyde EdwardsHelaire a first-round pick and lived up to that draft? No. But is he a good running back and can actually be productive in this league? Yes. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to keep him. And honestly, we've seen it last year with the Las Vegas Raiders, where they declined Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option, and then Josh Jacobs went on to have the best year of his career. Now, I'm not saying Clyde EdwardsHelaire is anything like Josh Jacobs, but I'm saying he is talented enough. I'm saying he's got a chip on his shoulder, and at the end of the day, when you deal with a motivated guy, he may be able to put up his best season moving forward. But if you focus on Jerick McKinnon and you focus on Clyde EdwardsHelaire, they are not an every down back. Isaiah Pacheco has the potential to be that, but at the end of the day, we do not know the severity of his injury, and once camp starts progressing, we'll learn more and more about it. But this is why we zone in on Dalvin Cook, and why Dalvin Cook may be more enticing than a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, because at the end of the day, when you focus on the running back room and you focus on the wide receiver room, I love the depth on both of them, but that wide receiver room, it's really nice. The depth is really, really good, and there is so much potential there. Like I mentioned with the running back rooms, there's limitations there. If you add a guy like Dalvin Cook, you could do so much, and really there is no limitations because we've seen what Dalvin Cook is all about. Like I mentioned, he may have lost a step, but at the end of the day, he's not going to be as expensive as he once was. He's still a 1,000-yard rusher in this league, and he makes this offense extremely better. Besides Isaiah Pacheco, Dalvin Cook would be the best running back that's been on this Kansas City Chiefs roster since Kareem Hunt. And honestly, if you took prime for prime, pound for pound, I'm going to take Dalvin Cook's prime over Kareem Hunt's. Now, I know that may be a hot take for a lot, and we didn't get to see what Kareem Hunt could have lived up to in Kansas City. But man, when Dalvin Cook first came out, he was someone I would have loved the Kansas City Chiefs to draft because he looks and reminds me so much of Jamal Charles. Again, not saying he's that right now, but if he could bring that type of ability, productivity to this offense, that would be huge. And that's something the Kansas City Chiefs have missed for the better half of what? We're talking like 3 years? Is that how long Kareem Hunt has been? Where we haven't been able to rely on a run game until last year. And honestly, last year was very inconsistent as well until we found the role for Isaiah Pacheco. If you give Mahomes a running back, I think that is more deadly than giving him a top-end wide receiver. We've seen what he can do with wide receivers on the likes of a Juju, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, MVS last year. They didn't have their best seasons. Honestly, they could have been way better. And that's not to slight any of them. But at the end of the day, it still went for a Super Bowl and they were holding up a Lombardi. Imagine putting in a top running game, whether it be a dual threat with Isaiah Pacheco and then Dalvin Cook, or you have a rotation with Jerick McKinnon, CEH, Isaiah Pacheco. You could mix it up in so many fashions. I feel like a deadly running game compared to a deadly receiving game, I'm just taking the running game. I feel like that will show that the Kansas City Chiefs have taken the game to a next level. And if you just zone in on the Kansas City Chiefs in whole in a 2023, going into 2023, the main thing Chiefs Kingdom is looking at is the defense. It's something that has been inconsistent for Mahomes' tenure. And they believe that this could be the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has ever had. And you know what would be scary? If you gave him the best running game he ever had. That means you can easily control the time of possession and the clock and just work teams and show you are more physical. And then you just let Patrick Mahomes sit back and do what he does, which is be the best quarterback in the league that no one could ever touch. And that would be a hard Kansas City Chiefs team to stop. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, this is all speculation. This is all for fun. This is what the dry part of the NFL season gives us. We didn't want to talk about adding DeAndre Hopkins to the team, but we did discuss bringing Dalvin Cook in. You let me know how you feel about that. If Dalvin Cook was to be released, would the Kansas City Chiefs be interested? Would you be interested? Or would you prefer Dalvin Cook or DeAndre Hopkins? It may sound crazy, but it shouldn't be. I think Dalvin Cook could be more of a priority than DeAndre Hopkins. So let me shut up, but let's dive in the comments down below. Let's discuss. Let's see how you feel. I'm going to sign off, but before I do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please hit that big thumbs up. Y'all take care. Peace.